All right, joining us now from Kiev, NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel. Richard, what more can you tell us about the area where the civilians were killed yesterday?
Well, we are right in that area at the moment. We are in the northwest section of Kiev, and down this road about 2 to 3 miles is the suburb of Irpin. It is a heavily populated area just on the outskirts of Kiev. It is separated from the center of the city by a single bridge. And just a few minutes ago, we were further down this road at that bridge. The bridge was blown up by Ukrainian forces, and now Russian troops are trying to occupy the center of Irpin, and it is sending people running out of the city, except the bridge is blown up, so they have to cross planks. 2 planks that go through the water, very slippery planks. We saw people who are being brought out in wheelchairs. Some people were being carried fireman style over volunteer shoulders. Some people are still coming out right now. A lot of them are traumatized. These people seem to be in good shape, but we've seen people who've been breaking down, carrying their children, in some cases separated from other family members, and then therefore they're in true desperation. And while this is happening, while people are doing something of a reverse evacuation, they're evacuating the suburbs, and they're not heading into the countryside. They are heading deep into the center of Kiev, hoping that there's some safety in numbers, safety with all of the buildings around. Even as this is happening, the Russians are continuing to bomb. We've pulled back a little bit, partly because they were bombing, partly because there was no communications up there. But for the last several hours, people have been coming out of this area, out of this neighborhood, heading into the center of Kiev, because as they're fleeing, they are still under attack. And we're talking about an area that is right on the doorsteps of the Ukrainian capital.
You know, Richard, last night, President Zelensky gave another address to the Ukrainian people, delivered his speech, and you can only be described as Churchillian. Basically, you know, a description of a speech that is so overused. But Zelensky, it was inspiring. But I thought the takeaway from it was still defiant. Him telling the Ukrainian people, we will not forgive and we will not forget.
It was very much his "we will fight them at the beaches" speech. He said, yes, there can be no retreat, no surrender. If you don't have a weapon, still stand and fight, because if you lose, we lose everything. We lose the nation. It was his strongest speech yet, but he also was very critical of the West, saying they cannot wait any longer to impose a no-fly zone, or if the no-fly zone is too much, because that could risk a direct confrontation between the United States and other NATO countries with Russia, then send planes. And deals are now being worked out, according to Secretary of State Blinken, to have the Eastern European countries send their Soviet-era planes that the Ukrainian pilots already know how to fly, and for the U.S. to backfill those aircraft by replacing them with U.S. fighter jets. That deal, however, as far as I understand, is still in the works. And while it is still in the works, the Russians are using their air power, their artillery, and their full military might to advance on Kiev and other cities.
Well, Richard, it's so interesting you're talking about a speech sounded like we'll fight them on the beaches. You're talking about, in effect, a lend-lease. You're talking about a besieged president being invaded with these phony grievances, trying to unite former members of an empire, and it sounds so much like Churchill in 1940 and through much of 41. Begging FDR, begging the United States, begging the New World to become involved. You must be struck there on the ground by how much history is rhyming here.
It absolutely is, and I had an opportunity to ask Zelensky specifically how he's holding up with these comparisons to Churchill. How is he holding up to the pressure of this historic moment while his city is under attack? And he said that history will judge how he is doing, but he feels that he's doing the best he can to help his country. And he said he hoped that the notoriety that he's receiving right now will translate to something. He said, it's great that people like me around the world and are talking about me around the world. Maybe that brings more attention, and maybe it brings the weapons, the planes, the no-fly zone that they are asking for. And this, by the way, is the closest that the Russians have gotten to Kiev, that they are making this advance and driving people from really the satellite cities deeper into the heart of town. But Zelensky has been extremely visible. He's giving speeches 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a day from his Telegram channel, sometimes from his phone, from different locations. And his presence has been something that is allowing Ukrainians to feel confident that their government is still in charge. And people here are rallying behind him, and they are rallying behind the troops. We were watching Ukrainian troops helping out, helping people cross that footbridge with their pets, with their only belongings, even as they were breaking down in tears and sometimes slipping and falling onto the ground.
NBC's Richard Engel, thank you so much for your reporting live on the ground there. We're all
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.